It's my great pleasure to welcome Emily Williams-Knight to the podium.
Hi, how is everyone? Good? Excellent. Welcome to Texas. Welcome to Houston. What a great food city we have here. I'm going to try to get this out. All right. So I will admit to you that on Saturday, I was presenting at the Trib Fest, which is a big sort of Texas Tribune event where a lot of political leaders come from all parties to talk about really key issues. And I was there advocating for child care reform for our industry, but frankly for the nation, because we do a terrible job of taking care of working families and taking care of our little people. And as I was finishing, I thought, because I'm 6 feet tall, that I would just go off the front of the stage, and ended up crashing into, believe it or not, a Houston representative who caught me, who's much smaller, and damaged my leg pretty good. So I'm gonna stay back here. And for the first time ever in my history, I have fallen off a stage while speaking. So maybe that will be the gift that they will all remember childcare and why it matters so much. I don't know, but I can tell you it was pretty embarrassing. So first thing, flights for tomorrow, because I know this is important. We are watching the hurricane / tropical storm / depends on what hour it is, very closely. I was just in communication with the CEO of Louisiana, who's a great friend. It looks like it is making more of a turn that way. But I just encourage you all to look for flights the next 2 days. Just monitor your flights. We think we're going to be okay here, but knock on wood, it is Houston, and we always want to be super careful. So if you're unaware of what's happening, don't look now. Look when I'm done, as you're all going to your phones. But just stay aware. But again, we think it is. And then obviously we pray for anyone in the path. We've had a derecho and a hurricane just in the last about 9 weeks. And it devastates communities and certainly devastates small restaurants and small businesses. So my presentation today is called Grit, and I'm going to tell you where this came from. But I'm going to start with a question. How many in this room are tired? Right? Would you put yourself in the category of not last night tired, like not went out in Houston tired, but feeling about everything coming in your path, you feel tired? Raise your hands high. It's most of us, right? Most of us have this feeling of overwhelming either fear or tiredness. But yet, how many of you have set yourself a big goal? How many of you have a goal you want to meet? Raise your hands. Okay. There's a big distance between being really tired and having a goal. I was the president of Kendall College in Illinois. Loved it because we produced hospitality and culinary students, and still to this day, it's a joy when I meet them, in some cases around the world. But I was very young to take on that job and very quickly became tired of the system, tired of learning, but I wanted to get to that next level. And I went to an event because one of my board members encouraged me to go to this talk on grit. And I thought, what is that? You know, I'm strong. I was raised, my mom and dad were military. I married a military person. I'm super resilient. But what I learned that day was this topic of grit by Angela Duckworth, and how honestly changing your mindset and learning grit can completely get you not only to that long-term goal, but it can change your life. And I'm not here to sell you anything. I have twin daughters, I have a husband, a massive job. I started with watching Ted Cruz talk about no taxes on tips this morning on CNBC, to a hurricane, to a health issue in El Paso. So I can tell you, I get the tired, but honestly, this shift in mindset has been transformational for me. And now I go and tell so many women, especially business owners, just some of the tips that I think that are science-based that I think will help you too. So let's get to the first slide. And this is the success equation, okay? So the first component, and we're going to walk through each of these, the first component is a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. You are not both. You are one or the other. You are a growth mindset person or you're a fixed mindset person. The middle we're going to talk about is grit. And we're actually going to measure, you're going to self-measure today where you are on the grit scale. And the last, and I want to be honest, this should be an equal sign. It equals self-determination. But I flip back and forth between plus and equal Because I believe that self-determination, these things come from having a growth mindset and grit, things like direction and happiness. You feel more in control. But I also think the three work together perfectly, and therefore it feels more in balance to me. Because one of the things as women we constantly are told is, find balance. Is your life balanced? Are you balanced? No, I'm not balanced, right? My husband brought the wrong gift to the birthday party, the child's melting down, an employee is upset, and the world's on fire, and there's new tax policy to deal with. No, I'm never a great mom and a great leader. So I made it on the same day. So I made it a plus, okay? And so if you go to the first sign here, a growth first fixed mindset is very simple. The growth mindset is believed that no matter where you were born, who you were born to, where you come from, what your background is, you are able to learn and to grow. No excuses. I think about this a lot when it comes to finance. So many of our women business owners, and we saw this in the pandemic when things went sideways, and there were loan programs and finances, and things got really hard, and we did I think about a $500,000 raise just to give women-owned businesses in Texas grants to get them through. We had more calls about the financials. I'm scared. I don't understand. I'm scared. You're all here. You're likely not in that category, but there are so many that are. So it's that idea is that if it's hard, I'm going to learn it because I can. I have the ability and the qualities to learn it. The fixed mindset is that your abilities, intelligence are static. It is who I am. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at science. I've never been good at science. My parents told me I wasn't good at science. I hate public speaking. I'll never do it. Like, I'm terrified of it, which frankly most people are, right? I can't, all rooted in fear. You have to choose one side or the other. Do you wake up and assume that you can learn something and be better, or you just assume where you are is static and you let it and the world come to you? Very big difference. And by the way, who controls which one you're in? Who? Correct. You get to make this decision every day. In a life for women that is often out of control, this is the one thing that you can control. I'm only good at certain things. I hate challenges. This is a biggie. When someone gives me feedback, I take it personally. How many people take feedback personally? I hope we all raise our hands. You know we've all gone home and been like, you can't believe what happened. Best thing that ever happened to me, I was a young leader in education in Pearson, and I was the only female on a leadership team. I'll never forget, I was 28 years old. I'm not man-bashing, want to be very clear, but these guys thought they were so cool. I would talk, they'd talk over me, I'd say something, they'd explain it better. It was just a game. But there was a couple that were just dumb. I'm sorry. They were dumb. I was young, they were dumb. And so I didn't realize that apparently my facial expressions made sure they knew I thought they were dumb. Okay? Never said a word, to be fair, but they thought I was dumb. So I get called into the office of the head of sales, and he sits down and he said, if you don't fix this one thing, you're never going to go anywhere. And I was like, well, what was that? I thought I was just amazing in that meeting. And he said, your facial expressions. I agree they're dumb. I'm like, okay, we all agree. He goes, but you can't make sure they know that. And I went home, and I'm like, this is the worst feedback ever. He doesn't get it. He needs to fire these people, right? 24 hours, 48 hours, and by the third day I went, you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm not going to make it personal. I'm going to learn it. So now when I meet with elected officials, if they're dumb, you don't know it because it looks like we're all best friends. Growth mindset, I can be good at anything. I embrace challenges. I welcome feedback, and I love to learn about things I don't know. Artificial intelligence, great one. Who's using it right now, every day? Brilliant. Who's scared of it? Lots of people. Who's using it but not even sure if they're using it right? I'm definitely in that category. One of my colleagues is like, did you write this welcome letter to the board? I'm like, yeah. Are you sure? I'm like, no, I didn't write it. I just put write dear board letter. Didn't work. Tiffany, don't tell Tom, please. But this is the two things, right? And each is a different choice to make, okay? You're optimistic. You have the persistence and put the effort in to learn. This is key because we're moving into grit. Learn over a long period of time. Most of us can do something for a little bit of time, But moving into grit, it is about passion and perseverance over a long period of time. You want to scale your business. How do you get there? You cannot just scale your business tomorrow. There are steps that you have to go through every single day. You will get knocked down, and you have to get back up again. But the whole idea of grit is taking this, I can do it, I have the capabilities, I can learn the things I don't, and then I get into grit, a personality trait that combines passion and perseverance for the long haul. Angela Duckworth, who did this research, who I think is absolutely incredible on grit, tested it first in the school systems. And what they identified was it did not matter where the student came from, what their income level was, what their education level was. Grades were more tied to their ability to stick with the process. The children that were able to put the work in this case to sit in their seat and work from A to Z academically did better. Everything else was removed from the equation. So grit is about a deep, enduring interest and commitment to a specific goal. My grit failure is running a marathon. I have registrations from Disney World to New York City to Chicago that if I could sell them, I'd sell them on eBay. Because every year I say to myself, in 2 years or 3 years or when I turn 50, I'm gonna do this. And I start it and I get to 7 miles and I quit. That is my grit failure. I have a very big goal. I've had it my whole life. I cannot get there. I have the passion, but I do not have the commitment to put the work in every day. I don't know why. But that's when you have the goal, but it has to be sustained and you have to put the work in. Grit is sticking with your future. How many of you want a future different than what you have today? Personal or professional? Right? That's exciting, because if no hands were up, what would we be working towards? Having the goal is step one, right? There are lots of people that when you say, do you want something different for your life, nothing happens. You all first invested in yourselves. James Beard invested in you to be here. And so now it's, what is that goal? And then how do you persist to get it? Here's the best part. Grit, the ability to take that passion and connect it to a long-term goal that you achieve, is teachable and learnable. This is not something that you're born with. As I said, I started to research this because I thought, wow, I've been kicked in the face so many times in this job. Why do I keep coming back? And I had to figure out, okay, it's something within me. Like, I have a passion to be this leader. I have a passion to expand this college. I can't give up. And on the darkest days, I would get up and say, I can learn more, I can be better, I know I can do more, and the world deserves more Emily, although my husband might disagree with that. That's the difference. So what is that goal? Do you each have that long-term goal in your mind? And are there little things that are getting in the way? Tired being one. If we go to this is called self-determination. Self-determination, I like to call, almost in a way, control. It's the autonomy to know that the goal you've set for yourself, that you're going to take the steps to achieve that goal, and what comes with that is autonomy. What comes with that is a sense of security and an accomplishment. It comes with things like a competency. Who here has learned something and then you feel better, right? If you're at a table and people are having a conversation around you and you don't understand the topic, it's the worst place to feel. So if you know that every day, no matter what happens, you're chipping away towards that big goal, it doesn't matter what happens in your day because you're working towards something much bigger. It may not even be something that people are aware of. On a personal note, I, like probably many of you, wanted to be a mother. Married my high school sweetheart after college. We were a military family, built the career. I had the whole game plan, right? Boom, boom, that's how it works. It's a linear line. Whoop, goes just like this. Naive, didn't happen. 3.5 years later, of an incredible IVF journey that I do separate talks about, I had twins. But during that journey, and this is important, About halfway through, I was traveling the country. I was doing the injections. This is 18 years ago. My twins just started college this year. I'm doing injections. I don't tell anyone. I'm getting sick. I mean, it's much better today than it was. It was rough. Couldn't tell anyone. Failure, fear. But my goal is slipping away. What is happening? How am I going to be a mom? What do I do? So I drove to New York, didn't tell anyone, and I quit my job. And the CEO thankfully said, I don't know what is going on with you, but I'm not going to let you quit. I need you to be honest with me. I cried, he cried, and he said, you're not giving up. You're going to work here, and you're going to be a mom. I don't care if it's through adoption. I don't care what the path is. And I didn't quit. So I say this because you have to have people in your circle that you can share what it is your goal is to you. Those may not be your closest friends. You need to have those people around you that can get up and say, no. He said, you're not quitting. You're going to stay and do this job. I don't even know what you're talking about. It was slightly uncomfortable talking to a man about this. But he said, I'm going to do what you need. I'm going to take your cues, and you're going to get through this. If he had been someone else or I wasn't willing to share, my career would have gone sideways. Who knows where I would have been? So that is the grit. That was never a long-term goal. My goal was, I'm going to, okay, Tuesday, great, I'll be pregnant, and life will go on. And then the world said, no, it's not going to happen that way. And so I tell you that because sometimes the goal you have in your head, you may have something else come. But what if it's important to you, if it's something that is meaningful, even if the world says it's not important to you, if that is your dream and your goal, you don't let anyone or anything get in your way. You control that. Only you. So many times as women, people take our power because we let them. But each of you has something so incredible inside you to accomplish. You're accomplished because you're here, but I know because in my soul, there's big things I want to do. And I want to be around a group that's going to encourage me, but I also want to have the grit to stick with it when it gets really hard. So if we go to the next slide, the full picture is here. A growth mindset plus grit brings you that self-determination. And I'm going to have you all, let me tell you two stories. This is important. Anyone here know Jose Andres? Yeah. Unbelievable, unbelievable. How I know Jose Andres is that when we had the horrific shooting in Uvalde, we were on the ground feeding with World Central Kitchen in our restaurants within 6 hours. How I know Jose Andres is he's someone who grew up with incredible challenges, but his dream was that food would be a social good. I believe that too. We have kids that don't have food. We have people coming across that don't have food, right? Food is such a uniter. And so I have followed him for so long, and now getting a chance to work with his organization, he never stopped. At one point, there were 1 million refugees on the Ukraine border that they were feeding at World Central Kitchen. Why? Because he said, this is my dream. He started from nothing. He built his restaurant businesses, but I would say what he's really known for is that philanthropic difference that he makes around the world. It is absolutely incredible. And every time he couldn't get a donation, every time he couldn't get money, he just kept pushing because he knew it was the right thing to do. Outside of our world, Brittany Hamilton, does anyone know her story? Unbelievable, incredible surfer, gonna rise to the very top of the field, shark attack. Never, ever, ever, ever will you get back in the water again. And in less than a year, she was in the water and she was winning without one of her arms. Why do I say that? If you read her story, my goal was to win. I'm not gonna let a shark bite get in the way of me achieving my goal. These are the kind of people I love to read about. Because in my darkest days, I want to know that there are people ahead of me that have set big goals like me that don't let anything get in their way. I mean, my gosh, you get eaten by a shark. I don't think I'd go in I get a jellyfish sting and I'm out, right? I mean, I don't know. The water's here. It's a little. So these are stories, and each of us has this story. But what I want to do is I want each of you to take a minute, get out your phones. This is very high tech for me. I told the team I want to do my paper survey again, and they said, we're going to upgrade this little M. So this is going to take you right to Angela Duckworth's grit test. Now, this is very important. There are several statements, don't answer them yet, that you're going to answer. Think about how you compare to most people, not just the people you know well, but the world. So don't think, in my friend group, I'm a super risk taker, because no one takes risks, right? Think about, globally, how do I see myself? And I want you to take a minute and answer these questions, and then hold on to your scores. Everyone got it? I think we're almost, okay. Who wants to share their score? Who wants to be bold and have courage and stand up and share their score? 4.2? 4.2, excellent. 4.5, oh, risk taker. Love it. 2.29, yes, I love it. 3.4, okay, love it. 4. Ooh, I love the 5.9. That's the 4.6 where I come from. That's awesome. What else we got? 4.3? 4.59? Anyone else? 4.5? Anyone below 3? That's good. It's okay, right? I mean, here's the thing. You got to start with, where am I today, right? Where am I? And if you're a 4.5, a 4.9, right? You should be getting out of here going, I'm starting my goal today. I am gritty as can be. I have what it takes, because it's hard, y'all. Like, every day is hard. It just is hard. We're trying to be mothers and daughters and wives and owners and operators, and it is a hard place to be. So if you can already determine, do I like challenges? Do I like to stick through things? I mean, we all have that friend that every other day they're starting a new business, they got a new idea, they jump from this to that, and we have this happen a lot. I mean, we have 57,000 restaurants in Texas, now $106 billion, and very proud, it's the largest private employer in the state. So we have a lot of contact with restaurants. And the worst is when people call and they have an idea, and then they have a new idea, and then we see them at an event, and they're like, well, now I'm going to do a food truck. And then I got a vending machine idea, and I'm always like, okay, what is the ultimate goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And let's stick with it. So how to get grittier? Instead of thinking, I'm good at this, say to yourself, what am I missing? When someone talks to you and you say, I already know that, like, you tune them out. Don't. Think of every single person you meet that you can learn something from them that you may not already know. Curiosity is incredibly powerful. Next up, I give up. I've certainly thrown my hands in the air before. I'm done. Like, I can't, right? Instead, I'll use some of the strategies that I've learned to get through this. This is too hard. Guess what? Instead, you know what? It is hard. But instead of saying it's hard and tuning yourself out, that you can't accomplish it, instead thinking, wow, this is hard. It's going to take me a little bit longer than I thought to get it done. Don't stop at the hard, to get it done. I can't make it any better. I can always improve things. I'm a tinkerer. I love to look at my employees and figure out, like, oh, that person's shining. Maybe I could do this with them. And like, constantly thinking about how to get the most out of every resource, but constantly tinkering. I made a mistake. Mistakes help me learn. Who's afraid of making a mistake? Anyone? Yeah. We're all a little gun shy making mistakes, right? The best thing about making mistakes is owning it. It is the most powerful thing you can do. I just had this happen. We have a lot of ground to cover. Think about the policy at the local, state, and federal level. Every health inspector, there's 220 regions. Every tax does everything. So I had a brilliant idea 2 years ago to move the Texas map into regions, and I thought people could just do more because it'd be repeating the same. It was a flawed thought. It did not work. And so I met with the leadership team Thursday, and I said, I own it. I made the mistake. I had a good intention. It's not working. We're going to fix it. And 2 of them said, I love how you always own up when you're wrong. I'm like, well, let's not have to repeat it a lot. but I'll take it. so valuable and empowering, because then you don't go home and worry about the mistake all night and grind away at 2 a.m. thinking about all the people you offended, and the train catches up. And by the time you're done, you're like, oh, I'm exhausted, I haven't slept. Because no one else is thinking about your mistake. You are. So just own it. She's so smart. I am not that smart. This is imposter syndrome. How many of us have dealt with this? Right? And then slowly you realize, and I think the pandemic was the best gift for women, because everyone came into our homes and we were disheveled and messy, and our husbands were coming in and dropping off food, and our kids were running in our house, and we couldn't keep it together. And that maybe is just self-talk for myself, because I was on the news every 6 minutes talking about the pandemic. But honestly now, how many times do you show up and you're more real? Right? Just, there's nobody smarter than you, because you own your story. Don't be intimidated by people, by their title, by their degrees, by what you think they know. You own your story. You are the most important person in the room. You just have to remember that. Plan A didn't work. Good thing the alphabet has 25 letters. B, C, D, E, F, G. Just keep moving. And it's good enough. Ask yourself, is this really my best work? Is this the best I can do? Because I am so capable of doing great things that nothing and no one will get in my way. There is your talk on grit.